the Biden administration reaction to a national tragedy. So earlier today, the president ordered 1,000 soldiers to help the North Carolina National Guard in getting out critical food and supplies and water to the hardest hit areas after Helene. And just moments ago, our video monitors caught this: President Joe Biden departing from Joint Base Andrews on his way to the Carolinas to survey that deadly destruction. It was left behind by Hurricane Helene, which is now a record maker. He touched on a range of topics before getting on to Air Force One. Let's take a listen.
Look, we're going down to see what the damage done. I'm going to be going back again to other states. But here's the thing, this natural disaster is incredibly consequential. The last thing we need on top of that is a man-made disaster, what's going on at the ports. We're getting pushback already, and we're hearing from the folks regionally that they're having trouble getting product they need because of the port strike. And look, there's a consortium of basically 6 owners that control all the ports from all the way to the East Coast down around the Gulf. And they've made incredible profits, over 800% profit since the pandemic. And the owners are making tens of millions of dollars from this. The last thing they need is to profit off of this. It's time for them to sit at the table and get this strike done.
Will you be communicating with them directly about any of this?
We have. I haven't personally, but we have.
Can you tell us anything about Iran and Israel's possible retaliation?
I called a meeting of the G7 today. We're working on a joint statement all of us agree on, from Japan to France to Germany to et cetera. And what we're doing in that regard is we're making it clear that there are things that have to be done. And it's obviously Iran has gone way it's way off board. We're going to put together a joint statement. Hasn't been done yet. It'll be done before too long, probably by the time we land. And there's going to be some sanctions imposed on Iran.
Sir, do you have a view on the workers' fight for restrictions on technology or automation for the golf workers?
No, look, they just sit down and talk. Because remember, we negotiated a similar strike on the West Coast before, and they worked it out. It's time. They won't even talk, so let's get that done.
Sir, sir, can I ask you, what is your...
support an attack on Iran's nuclear sites by Israel?
The answer is no. I think there's things... We'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do, but all 7 of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in proportion.
Little bit of a slice of what it's like to be the president of the United States. You're headed to the Carolinas to talk about the damage left by that hurricane, while at the same time, international issues and reporters right there at every step asking a wide range of questions, really taking advantage of that moment with the president. But let's get back to why the president is about to get on that plane. This is a look at where the president is headed, and look at the damage. This is what he will see as he flies over that area. Rivers in South Carolina at one point peaked at 16 feet deep. Let's add some context to that. Before Helene, a lot of those rivers in many places were just about 12 inches deep. So that equals devastation and death. Helene has now become the 2nd deadliest storm to hit the U.S., second only, in fact, to Hurricane Katrina. And at this hour, we can give you some solid numbers from emergency crews on the ground. In the wake of all of this flooding, at least 175 people have lost their lives. Hundreds at this hour remain missing. So while the president addresses the situation in the Carolinas, Vice President Kamala Harris is set to visit the state of Georgia. Power outages and downed trees plaguing that state. In fact, we understand some areas say they still can't access drinkable water in the pipes below ground as well, while water pours down on them from Mother Nature. CBS News campaign reporter Nidia Cavazos joins me now from Augusta with more on the vice president's movements. We see some of the trees down there in the effort to get cleanup behind you. Voters in Georgia are going to be affected in deep ways. What are we expecting from Harris during her visit?
Well, the vice president will be arriving in Augusta, Georgia shortly this afternoon in a couple of hours. We know that Harris is going to be surveying the area, the damages in communities, and then she will be delivering remarks to give information on what the federal response is in aiding these communities, what actions are being taken, what resources have already been deployed into this area. This is going to happen before she heads back to Washington, D.C. Now, initially, Harris was scheduled to be on the campaign trail today in Pennsylvania with the running mate Governor Walz after the vice presidential debate, but these plans had to be canceled given the nature of this catastrophe that people in Georgia and the southern states in the U.S. are living at the very moment.
Yeah, Nidia, if I'm a voter in one of these states, the Carolinas or Georgia hit hard by this, I want to know how the person who will get my vote, or if I'm thinking about giving my vote, is going to respond to this tragedy. Nidia Cavazos, thank you so much for that. So in the race for the White House, today is going to be all about getting into the battleground states for the VP nominees. We're talking about Tim Walz being in the state of Pennsylvania. J.D. Vance is on his way to Michigan today. In fact, in about 30 minutes, and you can hear the live video there, he's expected to deliver remarks at an event in Auburn Hills. Joining us now live is CBS News campaign reporter Taurean Small. Taurean, does the Vance camp, so to speak, see this as a victory lap, and how will he really capitalize on what was said in the debate stage last night?
Well, Reed, I'm expecting to hear Vance to continue what he's been doing before this debate, and that's to put the pressure on Kamala Harris. You know, what was interesting about last night's debate, and we saw from that, is that Vance wanted to make sure that the conversation stayed focused on what he saw as a failure of the vice president over the past 3 years. And he's also, you know, talking about the fact that Walz had an incredible job of trying to defend the vice president while also talking or making the case why the Democratic ticket will be important for voters moving forward. But what was interesting about last night's debate, and it'll be interesting to see if Vance actually follows through with this during his rally today, Vance stayed away from, you know, any insults at Walz. This is the same vice presidential candidate over the past couple of weeks who have called Walz a liar, has said he was a coward, blamed him for the riots in Minneapolis. There was nothing but pleasantries during this debate between the two of them. In fact, he said they agreed on a lot of things. This was a huge evolution of Vance's thoughts, and it'd be interesting to see if during this rally he goes back on the attack against the Minnesota governor.
We also saw in a lot of CBS News polling before that debate that so many voters said, look, we don't want personal attacks. We want to stay with substance and issues. And it looks like the candidates may have heard that and delivered on that promise, at least. Before we let you go, any reaction from former President Donald Trump, now candidate Trump, on how his running mate performed last night?
Well, Reed, the former president was quite happy with Vance's performance. In fact, he's been tweeting out or sending out quite a few memes on his social media site, Truth Social, boasting about his running mate's performance. One notable thing happened from the debate on the issue of abortion, based on the response from Vance on whether or not this administration, his administration, if they are elected, would do something about a national abortion ban. Donald Trump posted to his Truth Social site that he would support vetoing a national abortion ban if it came across his desk. That is a notable pivot from what he said during his own debate, showing that they are, at least on this, aligned.
All right, Taurean Small, thank you so much for that